think when your wife invites the entire street over for a backyard barbecue. It's a team effort. You know, we're in this together, honey. Not you host a suburban Hunger Games while I play unpaid catering staff. Nope, not in our case. We just moved in the week before. Corner lot, quiet cul-de-sac, the kind of place where people wave a little too enthusiastically when they walk their dogs. Audrey had insisted, we throw something small to introduce ourselves. In my head, that meant case of beer, a bag of chips, maybe a folding chair or two. Done. In hers, more like lifestyle blog photo shoot with string lights, color-coordinated napkins, and a guest list that looked like she swiped right on the entire neighborhood. So we spent the morning setting up chairs, untangling fairy lights, and wrestling with that Bluetooth speaker. You know, the one that only has 2 settings. Concert in a stadium or mute. I grilled. She mingled. And by mingled, I don't mean chatted politely about property taxes and recycling days. No, she mingled. I first noticed while flipping burgers. She was supposed to be on drink duty. Instead, she'd floated across the yard like a socialite on a mission, straight into the gravitational pull of Ryan. Ryan. Lives across the street. Widowed. Early 40s. Built like the kind of guy who accidentally leaves his shirt in the laundry pile, just so he can jog past your house at 7 a.m. without it. One of those guys who pretends to be modest while lifting a lawn chair in a way that makes you wonder if he practices in the mirror. Audrey practically drifted toward him like a balloon caught in a breeze. And suddenly I'm standing there, spatula in hand, watching her laugh a little too hard, stand a little too close. Oh, Ryan, you're terrible, she says, brushing his arm like it was part of the appetizers. And Ryan, flexing so hard I swear his veins were spelling out his Wi-Fi password, just smiles and goes, nah, just trying to help out the new neighbors. Yeah, buddy, with what exactly? My marriage vows. Within 5 minutes of mingling, she's leaning in, full eye contact, and I'm left flipping burgers like some underpaid intern at a 4th of July cookout. Her body language screamed, single and ready to mingle. Mine screamed, someone please check if my wedding ring turned invisible. I was talking to a couple from the next block. Nice people, probably thought we were normal, when I glanced over and saw her. Audrey, my wife, in full performance mode. Hand delicately resting on Ryan's forearm like she was auditioning for The Bachelor, Suburban Edition, head tossed back in laughter so theatrical I half expected someone to hand her an Oscar. Her whole body angled toward him, sunflower to the sun, desperate for rays of attention. I stared for a second, then flipped a burger. Because what else do you do? Interrupt the scene? Or just keep grilling until your spatula melts into the coals? A few minutes later, I decided to play supportive husband. Walked over with a bottle of water, held it out like a peace offering. Thought you might need this, I said. She took it without even glancing my way. Thanks, she muttered, already swiveling her face back to Ryan like I was background noise. Then, with the kind of lazy hand flick you'd use to swat a fly, she added, this is my husband. That was it. No name, no context, no pride. Just my husband. Like she was pointing out an old folding chair someone left by the curb. Ryan gave me a nod. Cool as you like. I gave him one back. Half polite, half clinical. Just a man mentally cataloging the situation like I was filling out a lab report. Subject appears hydrated. Continues flexing. Possible risk of smugness overdose. Then they kept chatting like I'd never entered the chat. She laughed. He flexed. She giggled again. I stood there, quiet, watching, the living embodiment of a third wheel. I tried to join in, rookie mistake. So, Ryan, do you run the loop around the park, or? Henry, Audrey cut me off, sharp as scissors. You always have something to say. I blinked. Oh, excellent. Apparently words are a problem now. Later, when I mentioned I should check on the food, she rolled her eyes like I'd suggested rearranging her Netflix queue. It's fine. You don't have to micromanage everything. Noted. Husband downgraded from host to micromanaging nuisance. So, I walked off, back to the grill, where at least the burgers respected me. I started cleaning plates that didn't even need cleaning, just to keep my hands busy and stop myself from Googling how long does it take to fake your own death at a barbecue? By sundown, the party had mellowed. People were lounging in chairs, sipping drinks, kids running wild with popsicles. And Audrey, still glued to Ryan, like he was the damn guest of honor. I walked over calm and quiet, the way a guy does when he's one eyebrow twitch away from turning into a headline. Hey, I said casual. I think I'm gonna head inside soon. Got a long day tomorrow. She blinked at me, genuinely confused, like I'd just spoken fluent dolphin. What? We just started relaxing. Why don't you go grab another drink? Or, I don't know, talk to someone. I'd rather talk to my wife, I said. Which, apparently, was the wrong answer. Her whole face shifted, smile gone, eyes sharp, voice louder than it needed to be. "Look," she announced, volume turned up for Ryan and the surrounding peanut gallery. "I'm just being friendly. If you can't handle that, the gate's right there." And she pointed. At the side gate. Of our own backyard. Like a bouncer at a club I already paid cover for. Here's the funny part. She thought I wouldn't. She thought I'd sulk, or apologize, or go sit by the cooler like a rejected contestant on The Bachelor. Instead, I looked at the gate, then at her, then back at the gate. "You know what?" I said, pulling the keys from my pocket. "You're absolutely right." And I walked. Out the gate, down the driveway, into my truck. I could hear her behind me, voice cracking like a bad radio signal. "Wait, where are you going?" I turned just enough to let the words hit her like gravel. "I'm leaving so you can openly flirt with every male present without me ruining the vibe. Consider it my gift." Her mouth fell open, but I didn't stick around for the encore. Didn't look back. Not once. She told me the door was right there, so I used it. The drive wasn't long, just a few blocks, but long enough for the neighborhood to see me making my dramatic exit like some guy in a breakup music video. I didn't even have a destination. I just needed distance. Space. Oxygen not filtered through Ryan's cologne. I let the truck idle in a parking lot, sat there staring at the steering wheel like it had answers. Eventually wandered into a gas station, grabbed a beer from the cooler I didn't even really want. Just needed something cold in my hand. Just to feel still. After about an hour, I circled back. By then the string lights in our backyard were sputtering like they'd run out of patience, and the music had mercifully died. I figured the last stragglers were probably being escorted out with those awkward smiles people give when they're not sure if they overstayed or if the hostess is about to bite them. I parked, walked in through the front door. Quiet. No laughter, no breath, no forced charm. Just the faint scent of barbecue smoke clinging to everything. The silence felt more honest than anything I'd heard all day. Keys down on the kitchen counter. Real beer. None of that hostess spritzer nonsense from the fridge. Sat at the island, calm as a monk in suburbia. She hadn't noticed I was back yet. Or maybe she had, and just didn't know which playbook covered husband uses literal exit strategy during party flirt-off. Either way, I wasn't in a hurry to find out. 20 minutes passed. I could have read a novel in that silence, but instead I nursed my beer, one slow sip at a time. Then came the sound. Back door. Footsteps. Fast. Sharp. Wooden heels on tile, each one angrier than the last. She stormed into the kitchen like a hurricane dressed by Nordstrom. "There you are," she snapped, voice slicing the room. What the hell was that? I didn't jump, didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Just took another sip, set the bottle down gently on the counter like I had nothing but time. "You told me the door was right there," I said, flat as a pancake. "So I used it." Her eyes widened like she couldn't believe I had the audacity to take her at her word. "That's not what I meant. And you know it," she hissed. I tilted my head, eyes narrowing. "All right then, what did you mean?" Audrey opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Just silence and the faint sound of her pride deflating. "Exactly what I thought," I said, a smirk tugging at my lips. "You didn't want me to leave so you could flirt." She countered that by saying, "You embarrassed me. I had to tell them you weren't feeling well, that you got dizzy or some crap like that." I tilted my head, slow and steady, like I was listening to a toddler explain quantum physics. "You could have told them the truth, that you pointed to the gate and told me to leave." She stared at me for a beat. Not because guilt had suddenly landed. Oh no. She was calculating, running PR damage control in her head like she was drafting the next neighborhood newsletter. "Finally," she said, "that makes me look like a bad wife." I couldn't help it. A laugh slipped out, tiny, sharp, just enough to register as contempt. "Audrey," I said, voice calm as a funeral, "you spent the afternoon glued to another man, introduced me like a delivery guy, and rolled your eyes every time I spoke. That is a bad wife." "I wasn't glued to anyone," she fired back. "I was socializing. With your hand on his bicep. It was a joke, was it?" I did not laugh, I said. "That landed." She paused, exhaled hard through her nose. The universal sign that a victim narrative was loading in the background. "You know what?" she said, voice softening with professional precision, like she was about to hand me a pamphlet on mindfulness. "This isn't healthy. You're getting this jealous, this insecure over nothing. Jealousy usually comes," I said, "when your spouse pretends you don't exist while hanging on the arm of a neighbor. You're twisting everything." "Am I?" She crossed her arms. "You need to talk to someone. Seriously. A therapist, maybe? Someone to help you unpack where all this insecurity is coming from." And there it was. The pivot. From flirting wife to therapist wife. From gaslighter to concerned caretaker. I stood up, walked to the fridge, opened it even though I didn't want another beer. I just needed the cover, something to do besides stare at her stage performance. "You ever hear yourself?" I asked, rummaging past condiments like I was searching for her integrity. She didn't miss a beat. What's that supposed to mean? I mean the way you twist reality into this little Broadway number where you're the poor, misunderstood wife, and I'm the emotionally unstable lunatic who dared to object. She scoffed, sharp and rehearsed. You're so dramatic. I was having a conversation, that's all. I shut the fridge, turned, leaned against the counter like a man preparing closing arguments. You introduced Ryan by name. You talked about his career, his house, his gym membership, his life story. Then you flapped a hand in my direction and went, that's my husband. Like I was a lawn ornament. I didn't say it like that. You did. Her lips pressed inward, curling like she was trying not to taste her own lie. Silent, calculating again. That was the problem. She didn't argue. She strategized. And when she realized I wasn't going to let her rewrite the afternoon into something Hallmark-friendly, she moved to stage 2, mobilized the allies. She grabbed her phone, marched into the living room, dialed. I stayed put. No need to chase. Her voice carried perfectly fine. Hey, yeah, it's bad, she whispered, hitting the exact pitch of fragile damsel in distress. He completely overreacted. Walked out in the middle of the barbecue. I was just talking to Ryan, you know, being friendly, and he lost it. Pause. Classic timing. No, I wasn't flirting. He's just so insecure lately. I don't know what to do. I could tell immediately it was her sister. Audrey had a different voice for everyone. Neighbors got the bubbly tone, co-workers the capable tone, and her sister got the back me no matter what tone. That one was a classic, polished from years of sisterly codependence. I leaned on the doorway, listening to her rewrite the last 2 hours like she was narrating a Lifetime movie. Based on true events, but not really. Eventually, I just walked upstairs. Let her have her calls, her spin, her warning messages to the neighbors, the family group chat, the women's wine circle. Let her play her part. I wasn't going to compete with her version of events. I had the real one, and I wasn't interested in debate. The first call came the next morning. I was in the garage, reorganizing a perfectly organized toolbox. Not because it needed it. Every bolt already had a home. Every wrench already lined up like soldiers. But because sorting hardware by size was less depressing than sorting through what was left of my marriage. Phone rang. Unknown number. Normally, that's an automatic ignore, but for some reason, maybe masochism, I picked it up. Hello. Hey, it's Robert. Robert. My brother-in-law. Married to Audrey's sister. The same guy who once gave a 10-minute TED talk about how gas station sushi is criminally underrated. So, you know, not exactly a philosopher. Hey, Robert, I said, already regretting answering. Listen, man, I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but Audrey called my wife this morning. She's pretty upset. Of course she is. He cleared his throat, gearing up for his best concerned brother voice. She said you guys had a fight. Something about you getting jealous over a conversation. I stared at a wrench, let the silence stretch, let it weigh down on him until it was awkward. Then I said, she told you I got jealous because she was talking to someone, right? Yeah. Did she mention that she flirted with the neighbor all evening, ignored me in my own backyard, and then told me the door was right there? Long pause. The kind of pause where even Robert realized he'd stepped barefoot into something squishy. I mean, he started cautiously. She said she was just being friendly. Robert, I said flatly, let me ask you something. Okay. If your wife spent 3 hours flirting with another man in front of everyone, introduced you like a stranger, then told you to leave when you brought it up, what would you do? That's different. Explain. No answer. Just the faint sound of his brain stalling out like a bad engine. I let him squirm in the silence a little longer, then said, exactly. I'm just trying to help, man. Then help by staying out of it. I hung up. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. I wiped my hands on a rag, expecting a telemarketer or maybe a friend checking in. Nope. Her father. Perfect. Just the boss fight I didn't ask for. He didn't even wait for me to say hello. We need to talk, he barked, already revving his lungs like I was a telemarketer. About what? I asked, even though I already knew this was going to be so much fun. You embarrassed my daughter in front of the whole neighborhood. You're giving her the silent treatment now? She called me crying. Hey, shut the hell up and listen. I don't care why that bitch is crying and why I should entertain your call. I cut in, my tone flat, but sharp enough to slice through his rant. Lower down your voice when you call me. I'm not one of your employees. Silence. Just like that. The man who thought he could outshout God suddenly remembered how to use his indoor voice. Now tell me what you need to say. I said, about how you're treating my daughter. I set the wrench down with deliberate calm, like a surgeon putting away a scalpel. How am I treating your daughter? She called me crying. Said you embarrassed her in front of your new neighbors. Said you're giving her the silent treatment now. I raised an eyebrow, staring at the ceiling as if God might send me patience by FedEx. I'm not giving her the silent treatment, I replied. I'm just not interested in hearing why I'm supposed to be okay with her hanging on the neighbor's arm like a prom date. She was being professional, he snapped, in a halter top, touching his chest and giggling at everything he says. Oh yeah, like a professional hooker, I said. That's textbook professionalism. Giggling at every word while running your hand over his pecs. I think I saw that course listed under Business Etiquette 101. She's always been social. You knew that when you married her. And there it was. The family's favorite get-out-of-jail-free card. She's always been like this. Translation: if she's consistent, it can't possibly be wrong. Her personality, I said slowly, making sure each word landed, is not a free pass to disrespect her marriage. You're being dramatic, he said. No, I countered. I'm being clear. She disrespected me in front of our entire neighborhood, and then tried to gaslight me into thinking I imagined it. She said she pointed to the gate because she was frustrated. She didn't mean for you to actually leave. Frustrated of what? Giving attention to her husband over her neighbor. If that frustrates her, then she should not remain married. I shot back. Silence. The kind where you can hear both people clenching their jaws from a distance. Then he dropped it. Maybe you married the wrong woman. I smiled. Oh, bless him. You were absolutely right. I did. The line went quiet. Like I just insulted the royal bloodline. What's that supposed to mean? He demanded. Like I just threatened to set fire to the family crest. It means I married someone I thought valued respect. Turns out I married someone who values attention. And right now, I leaned back in my chair. She's getting plenty. You better think real hard about what you're saying, he warned. I already did, I said. I've been thinking harder than anyone else in this family, apparently. Then I hung up. Didn't wait for the next threat, lecture, or guilt trip. Just turned my phone off and went back to organizing tools that didn't need organizing. Wrenches that hadn't been touched in months suddenly needed alphabetizing. A hammer got its own corner. My drill bits were sorted like they were applying for passports. Because unlike Audrey, I don't need an audience to process my emotions. That evening, after the calls had stopped and the tools were back in their drawers, lined up so neatly they could win a beauty pageant, I stepped inside. No raised voices. No slammed doors. No, we need to talk. Ambush waiting for me in the hallway. Just silence and the faint clicking of a keyboard from the kitchen. I followed the sound and found Audrey at the table, hunched over like a grad student cramming for finals. She was fully immersed in what looked like a group project for a psychology seminar. A stack of printouts sat beside her. I squinted at the titles. Rebuilding Trust After Emotional Escalation. Signs your partner has controlling tendencies. How to spot a toxic dynamic in a marriage. I raised an eyebrow. Wow, light reading. You planning to psychoanalyze me before dessert? Or is this just foreplay now? She didn't laugh. Big surprise. She was too busy highlighting sentences like she was prepping for a courtroom cross-examination. Next to her sat a legal pad with the words therapist options scrawled at the top, bullet points neatly listed beneath, each one crowned with underlined headers. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, cracked it open, leaned against the counter like I was auditioning for most patient husband alive. She was scribbling away, highlighter in one hand, printout in the other, like she was preparing for the bar exam instead of, talking to her actual husband. I found 3 therapists, she announced, not even looking up. Voice clinical, like she was diagnosing a rash. I took a sip. Sounds like you're shopping for a diagnosis. She shot me a glance, half annoyed, half, don't you dare. I'm trying to save our marriage. By diagnosing me, I deadpanned. I'm trying to help. I raised an eyebrow. By Googling how to fix your husband. That did it. She slammed the pen down. Don't make jokes. This is serious. Oh, I'm dead serious, I said, swirling my beer like it was fine wine. Just not sure which part you want me to take more seriously. The part where you flirted with the neighbor for 3 hours, or the part where I'm apparently the broken one. Her nostrils flared. I was not flirting. I've told you that 100 times. And I've told you 100 times. I leaned in, voice smooth as butter. That's not how it looked. She snatched one of the printouts, practically stabbing it with her finger. This article says, excessive jealousy is often rooted in early life trust issues, sometimes tied to abandonment trauma. Do you even realize how you sounded when you stormed out? I tilted my head, pretending to think. Do you realize how you sounded when you pointed at the gate and told me to leave my own house? Her arm stiffened. That wasn't serious. Then why'd you double down when I did? She threw her hands up, exasperated. You're twisting everything. I stayed perfectly still, taking a long sip, savoring the silence. Nope. I'm just refusing to pretend this circus is normal. I said I was sorry, she snapped. No, you didn't, I corrected, calm as a monk. You said you were embarrassed, that I overreacted, and that I need therapy. That's not an apology. That's a smokescreen. She blew out air like a frustrated yoga instructor. You want me to just say it? Fine. Maybe I was a little too friendly. Ah, the classic maybe apology. I clinked the bottle against the counter. Strong start. Okay, fine. She huffed, arms crossed. I flirted. Is that what you want to hear? Now I want is for you to understand why that doesn't matter. Her jaw tightened. She crossed her arms tighter, like she was trying to strangle herself with her own elbows. I didn't flinch. Your intentions don't matter anymore, I said quietly. Your actions do. She blinked. You're trying to salvage this marriage by acting like I'm paranoid. I continued, leaning on the chair like I was testifying in the court of common sense. Like my boundaries are the problem. Like your behavior is just misunderstood. I gave her a slow nod. But see, that's exactly the issue. You didn't think about me. Her eyebrows arched like she wanted to protest, so I cut her off with a hand wave. Not when you were laughing at every dumb thing Ryan said, like he was auditioning for a sitcom laugh track. Not when you introduced me like some guest who stumbled into the wrong barbecue. Not when you pointed to the gate and told me to go, like I was the dog who'd gotten into the potato salad again. She didn't respond. Just sat there, looking like she'd swallowed a lemon and couldn't find the receipt to return it. I leaned back slightly and let the silence drag its heels across the floor. You're not trying to fix the marriage, I said finally. You're trying to fix the optics, the fallout, the narrative. Her face reddened like I'd just called her thesis paper plagiarized. That's not fair. I chuckled. It's not fair that I had to watch my wife become a stranger in our own backyard while everyone else watched with me. Like some live performance of Humiliate Your Husband in 3 acts. Why are you being so cold? She snapped. I tilted my head. Because I've been burned. Pretty straightforward, really. Cause, need effect. That shut her up for a moment. And then, right on cue, came the final prop from her drama kit, the ultimatum. If you want this marriage to work, she said sharply, gripping her pen like it was a dagger, then you need to come to counseling with me. Otherwise, I don't see a path forward. I nodded once, crisp and clean. Then maybe there isn't one. She blinked again, slower this time, like her operating system had just frozen. Wait, what? I'm not going to therapy to fix problems I didn't create, I told her. I'm not going to sit in a room while you explain to a stranger why I'm too sensitive for wanting basic respect. That's not therapy. That's stand-up comedy, with me as the punchline. So that's it. Her voice cracked. You said it yourself. I reminded her, with all the warmth of a customer service rep. You don't see a path forward. I'm just agreeing with you. She stared at me like I'd just ripped the floor out from under her, and then told her gravity was optional. What do you mean? Maybe there isn't one, I said simply. And then I shut up. I stayed quiet. Let her fill the silence with panic. You can't be serious, she said, stepping forward like she was about to deliver the monologue that would win her the Oscar. I'm offering a way to fix this. I'm trying. Doesn't that matter? Sure, I said, right up there with thoughts and prayers. You're offering therapy on the condition that I admit to problems I don't have. I'm offering to work through this together, she said. I nodded slowly. But only if I agree it's all my fault. Sounds less like therapy, more like confession. Should I bring rosary beads? She flinched. Not much, just a tiny flicker in her eyes. I saw it. You're twisting this, she said, quieter now. I just want us to be okay again. You mean you want me to go back to pretending? No, she started, but I cut her off with the precision of a surgeon who's had enough coffee. You didn't make a mistake, Audrey. You made a choice. A clear, intentional choice. She blinked. I didn't. You chose to flirt with Ryan for hours. You chose to ignore me. You chose to mock me in front of people. And when I calmly told you I didn't like it, you pointed to the gate. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was a test. Her lip trembled. And when I walked through it, instead of owning it, you launched a PR campaign. You didn't come to me. You went to your sister, your father, your brother-in-law. You painted me as the jealous, unstable husband. That wasn't a reaction. That was a strategy. I was scared, she whispered. You were exposed, I corrected. She wiped her face, trembling now like a B-movie actress in the rain. Please don't do this. We can work through it. I'll stop talking to him. I won't even wave if I see him in the street. Just don't give up on us. I looked at her for a long moment, and for a second, I felt that old reflex to patch things up, to de-escalate, to give her the benefit of the doubt. You know, the same reflex that convinces you to eat gas station sushi because it looks fine. But it passed, because for the first time, I saw her clearly. She didn't want me. She wanted the version of me who would accept crumbs and call it loyalty. I'm not giving up, but I'm just done pretending this is a partnership. Her eyes went wide, the tears shimmering like she'd just discovered water existed. Is this really worth throwing away our marriage? She asked, now crying. 5 years, I said flatly. You threw it away when you stopped being my wife and started being someone else's audience. You made the choice. I am just following through and making sure what you decide sticks. I made a mistake, she blurted. No, I corrected, and I swear my voice could have frosted glass. You made a choice. And when I called you out, you made another one. You told me to leave. You meant it. And I listened. She turned away, the waterworks fully activated now, tears rolling like she was auditioning for a soap opera no one was watching. Please, she whispered. I'll do better. I promise. Just don't go. I walked toward the stairs. She didn't follow this time. Progress. Where are you going? She asked, voice cracking like a broken violin string. To pack a few things, I said without turning around. For what? I'll be staying somewhere else while we figure out the details. What details? I stopped on the first step, looked back just long enough to twist the knife. Divorce. Her sob hit the room like a gut punch, except the gut wasn't mine this time. You can't just leave, she cried. I turned to face her one last time. You told me the door was right there. And then I walked upstairs, and for the first time in a long, long time, I felt clean. Not happy, not triumphant, just clean. Like someone had finally hosed off all the bullshit I'd been walking through for years. I spent the next 3 nights at my brother's place. He didn't ask questions, didn't pry, didn't do the whole bro heart-to-heart routine. Just tossed me a spare key and a cold beer and said, let me know if you need the couch any longer. Exactly the kind of emotional support I needed. No strings, no Kleenex, no lectures. Audrey, on the other hand, was not so chill. The messages started the moment I walked out. This is insane. You're overreacting. Please come home. Yeah, because nothing says healthy relationship like spamming someone into submission. Then it escalated. I talked to a lawyer. Do you know how much this is going to cost us? Oh good. Nothing melts a cold heart like financial threats. By the second day, the voicemails started sounding like they'd been recorded from inside a wine cellar. I didn't mean it. Okay, I'll block Ryan. I won't even say hi if I see him again. I love you. Don't throw this away. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty. Well, okay, maybe with a sprinkle of cruelty, but mostly because there was nothing left to say. On the 3rd day, she showed up at my office. My assistant buzzed me. Your wife's here. She says it's urgent. Of course she does. Probably thinks she's starring in a Hallmark drama. Send her in. I sighed. She walked in like she hadn't slept in 3 days. Dark circles under her eyes, hair tied back in what I can only describe as a resentful ponytail, blouse wrinkled enough to suggest she lost a fight with the dryer. For once, she looked human, mortal, even. Did she wait for me to invite her to sit? Of course not. She plopped herself down across from my desk like it was the UN Security Council, and she had veto power. We need to talk, she said. We did talk, I replied. You threatened to leave me unless I agreed I was broken. I wasn't threatening. I was desperate. No, you were bluffing. And now you're mad that I called it. She leaned forward, like sheer proximity was going to make me forgive her. I know I messed up. I know I handled it all wrong. But throwing away our marriage over one night. This isn't about one night, I cut in. It's about a pattern. Who you are, and who you expect me to be. She shook her head. I don't understand. Of course, she didn't. Why start now? You expect me to be the kind of husband who watches you flirt with other men, who stays silent so you can feel admired, who apologizes when you disrespect him. That's not fair. It's accurate. I never meant to make you feel like that. But you did. And when I told you, you didn't stop. You pointed to the gate. I was angry. And now you're scared. She went quiet, then said softly, I love you. I know, I said. But love isn't enough. Of course it is. Ever heard of the term respect? She looked stunned, like no one had ever said that to her before. I can't be married to someone who only loves me when it's convenient, who only apologizes when I leave, who only reflects when she's losing. I'll do better. I swear, she said, voice wobbling like a bad karaoke performance. I looked at her deadpan. Do better, huh? Great slogan. What exactly are you going to do to fix it? Her eyes darted, lips trembling like she was auditioning for a soap opera. We'll go to therapy. I laughed. Loud, sharp, the kind of laugh that doesn't match the occasion. Therapy? So let me get this straight. I sit in a room while some stranger with a notepad explains to me how your flirting was good for our marriage, how my jealousy was toxic, but you telling me to leave was a brilliant relationship strengthening exercise. That's the plan. I leaned in, close enough that she couldn't look away. Ever heard the phrase, to fix a problem, admit there is a problem? Let me ask you this. Did you tell your brother-in-law you were flirting? Did you tell your father that all those tears you used to drown him in were just an act to gather support against me? Did you tell anyone that I left not because I'm unstable, not because I'm weak, but because you ignored me and then told me to leave? Did you do any of that? She opened her mouth, closed it again. Nothing, just silence. And for once, it was the most honest thing she'd given me in years. I shook my head. Calm. Final. You don't miss me. You miss control. You don't respect me. You just hate being left. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't want anyone else, she whispered, like that was supposed to be the trump card. But you didn't want me either. Not really. You wanted someone to orbit around you, not stand beside you. Congratulations, you got NASA, and I quit. Silence. She stared at the floor like it had the answers, then back up at me. I'm not signing anything. You don't have to, I said. I'll file and serve you. You can fight it if you want, but it won't change anything. The paperwork doesn't care about your dramatics. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again, like a fish arguing with itself. You're really doing this? She finally asked. I almost laughed. I already did it when I walked through the gate you pointed at. She didn't sign right away. Of course not. That would have been too easy, too practical. Instead, she pulled the classic, I just need space to think card, as if space was some kind of magical eraser for betrayal. Space to think. I had asked, eyebrow cocked. You've had years to think, Audrey. The only thing you were doing with your space was filling it with other people. She frowned, like I was the unreasonable one. It's complicated. No, I said. Astrophysics is complicated. String theory is complicated. What you did, that's just basic arithmetic. You plus someone else equals me filing papers. But she stalled anyway, pretending that not signing was some bold act of resistance. I didn't chase her, didn't send reminders, didn't follow up with cheerful little texts like, hey babe, just wondering if you've gotten around to signing away our sham of a marriage yet? I let her sit with it. The same way I had to sit with her hand on another man's arm at that barbecue. The same way I had to sit with her laughter in my face, as if humiliating me was part of the entertainment package. The same way I had to sit with her pointing toward the gate like it was all just some hilarious sitcom setup. Days passed, then a week. And me? I kept living. I went to work, answered emails, ate dinners alone, which, shockingly, turned out to be less depressing than sharing a table with someone who couldn't stand me sober. For the first time in months, I didn't feel lonely. I actually slept. Like really slept. Not that shallow, restless stuff I'd gotten used to, where every creak in the house felt like it might be her sneaking back in with excuses dripping from her mouth. No, this was solid, peaceful, drool on the pillow sleep. And then something interesting happened. Her silence got louder than any of her speeches. No more texts about how much she missed me. No more voicemails about working on herself. No more bargaining like we were haggling over the price of a used car. Just absence. Honestly, best soundtrack I'd heard in years. 2 weeks after that last office showdown, a courier envelope showed up at my brother's place. Inside, the signed divorce papers. No note, no apology, not even a half-hearted, hope we can still be friends. Just her name, written carefully, like she thought her signature still carried weight. It didn't. I didn't pop champagne. Didn't run to Instagram with some cringe caption like hashtag free at last, hashtag new beginnings. Didn't even consider a wild night out, because this wasn't a victory lap. It wasn't about winning. It was about remembering who the hell I'd been before I started compromising with disrespect. I still bump into Ryan sometimes when I'm on that side of town. You know, the neighbor. Mr. Trim, the lawn, at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. He doesn't make eye contact, doesn't wave, just does this quick little nod before he scurries into his garage like a raccoon with groceries. Maybe something happened between them. Maybe not. Honestly, doesn't matter. She'd already broken the deal way before Ryan's heroic driveway sprints. Because betrayal doesn't always start in bed sheets. Sometimes it's in the look. The look that used to be mine. The private smile. The secret glance. The one thing you thought was just for you. Then suddenly, boom, she's handing it out like free samples at Costco. People ask me sometimes. Old friends, former neighbors. Hell, one guy slid into my DMs a few weeks back. Hey, I heard about you and Audrey. I thought you guys were solid. What happened? I give them the same answer every time. She pointed at the gate. So I used it. That's it. That's the tweet. Because the truth is embarrassingly simple. She never thought I'd actually leave. She thought I'd beg, crawl, perform my usual trick, the loyal husband swallowing insults so her Instagram stayed cute. But nope, that guy's dead. The one who tolerated half love, half truths, and half-ass apologies. Poof. In his place? Me. The man who finally figured out, maybe late, but figured it out, that love without respect is basically just bad customer service. And Audrey? She thought I'd never leave because she always had excuses, and I always came back, always put her first. Until I didn't. Now she's free. Free to smile at Ryan, or the mailman, or the Amazon delivery guy if she wants. But what she'll never have again is a husband willing to quietly fade into the wallpaper just to protect her comfort. I don't know what she tells people now. Maybe I'm the jealous ex. Maybe I'm the unstable one. Maybe I'm the guy who couldn't handle a strong woman. Oh, that one makes me laugh. She'd stand in the kitchen with her arms crossed, practicing the line like it was some kind of TED Talk opener. Yes, Karen, he just couldn't handle me. I'm too strong. Yeah, sweetheart, it wasn't your strength I couldn't handle. It was your ego, your selective memory, and your uncanny ability to turn every dinner into a debate team final. So let her spin it however she needs. I'm done correcting her version of the story. I used to though. Oh boy, did I, friends would say. Hey Henry, Audrey says you hated parties. And I'd correct them. No, I hated her parties, because apparently the guest list was just men who happened to have tools in their garage and arms like tree trunks. Or, Henry, Audrey said you never supported her hobbies. And I'd say, right, because flirting across the fence isn't a hobby, it's a cry for help. But now? Nope, I let it all go. She can make me out to be a jealous control freak who cried into his cereal every morning for all I care. Because I've got my own story, and mine ends like this. She pointed to the gate like it was a dare. You know, chin up, finger out, like she was Caesar sending a gladiator to his death. And me? I treated it like Google Maps giving me the fastest route out of hell. She thought I'd stand there, argue, plead, maybe even give her one of those long, dramatic rom-com speeches. Nope. I walked through that gate, kept walking, and I never looked back. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.